the Supply Unchained Podcasts. We are your hosts, Leo and Kristine. Welcome to a new episode of the Supply Unchained. This week, our guest is Alex Deitermann.
Alex is co-founder and executive director of Tailorlux. His company is working on new technology called Integritech. Integritech helps to trace material authenticity from raw down to final product. It marks natural fibers as cotton, pure wool, silk. So today it's all about product integrity and traceability.
Let's go to the interview.
Welcome, Alex, to our podcast today.
Well, thank you very much for your invitation.
We basically want to go through a few questions. We want to just hear your thoughts, Alex, and then of course we can have a conversation about it. So question number one is, do you believe it's possible to achieve 100% transparency across a fashion supply chain?
This is a good question, and the quick answer is no. I do not believe that it is possible to get 100% of transparency by traceability in the fashion supply chain. And I'll tell you why. I do love Pareto, the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. And when we would come from maybe a couple per mil today in terms of transparency and traceability to 80%, I think this is about the maximum we can achieve, because there will always be gray zones, there will always be material and products which are somehow in a gray zone where people just do not want to have full transparency. By Pareto, the last 20% coverage take 80% effort. And if we can, with 20% effort, cover 80% traceability and transparency, I think this is a goal which may be to achieve realistically, although from today's point of view, it is a very challenging goal, because we are so low on the actual situation in terms of traceability.
Do you believe the biggest bottleneck is the human aspect, that companies would just not go for the transparency even if it's possible, or the technical capability across the value chain?
If people want to achieve things, then it is possible. And even if we take the worst possible education that people are not able to write and to read, which is maybe the case in some areas. I don't want to name a country, but we know that a lot of production takes place in Asia. And yes, we have very poor conditions at the working base. But I think if it is a need to document the turnover of a material or a product from A to B, and just to make sure that this is documented, it is possible. If people do see an advantage for this documentation, or if they don't see an advantage, and if the advantage is bigger not to document because you can mix or blend or cheat. This is my saying. As you know, mixing, blending, and cheating is a standard in the textile industry. If you can make more money with mixing, blending, and cheating, you avoid any kinds of documentation or traceability and transparency.
What is your favorite myth in fashion supply chain industry?
I did not have to think long about this question.
Okay,
I think it is my favorite myth really is certificates create security. Oh. This is the favorite myth, because this is what happens today. This is, from my perspective, the reality is that everybody's dealing with certificates. And they say, okay, my company, no matter if it is a producer or a fiber delivery, they say, we are certified, we have the certificate, we can name now GOTS, GRS, and so on. It's all the same. There is an audit once a year, processes are documented, and then there's a stamp on a piece of paper, and it hangs on the wall, and there's your certificate. And also at handover or takeover certificates, it's like a delivery note. On the paper, it is now 3 tons of organic cotton, for example. What it really is, the material related to the certificate, is a question mark. It's something totally different.
So quick question about that. Because I think it happens in different areas, not only in sustainability, right? It happens too in quality, right? That we have like certifications for quality. And again, it's all about getting the documentation or getting the certificate. But at the end of the day, the focus is not on making quality product. It's on being certified that you make quality product. Same, it's happening with social measures, like you want to get your certificate of good social practices. Again, the motivation is to get the piece of paper or to get a certification, and it's what's the minimum you can do to get to that certificate. The same way that at least in quality, we're moving away from certifications, and kind of like at least in our world, like every retailer, every brand has its own standards. They forget about certifications now, and like, listen, if you want to work with me, boom, this is my folder. This is what quality means for me, and everybody's kind of dealing with quality in their own way, in their own standards that usually are more rigid than the standards of the EU or the standards of of ISO. So do you think that something like that is going to happen in supply chain, that people are going to move certifications aside and say, okay, if we're going to do business, this is what I want?
Yes, and I see it from a very positive aspect. But I think the brands and retailers who take the effort to define their own standards are doing something really interesting, because they are creating facts and standards where they believe in themselves. And they have good reasons to do that, because if we just look for something like the green button in Germany, it's a new label which the German government has created last year for supply chains in textile industry, and it starts basically at cut and sew. But everything before that, from fiber to the ready product, is not included today. And Germany is the only country in Europe with this new standard. And Germany went ahead because all the other European countries did not want to do that fast in terms of speed. So if we want to wait for a political standard somehow nationwide, Europe or worldwide, it will take years until something happens. And companies are just faster. When somebody says, we want a certain standard, we want to make sure that this is really organic cotton, we want to make sure there is no child labor, we want to make sure there's only biodegradable dyeing material which we use for colors, then they can do that, they can check that, and they can make sure that the products are made that way. I think that's a very good way. And when we think we must wait for a global standard for something, I think we will wait forever.
What do you see as the most innovative recent fashion supply chain, either initiative, project, startup? And I know that you are very, very involved with, contacting people on LinkedIn and trying to read the news. So I'm really curious about, from everything that you have read and heard, what really catches your attention?
Yeah, for me, the most innovative initiative has been pilot project in 2019, which has been carried out by Fashion for Good, in cooperation with the Organic Cotton Accelerator in the Netherlands and CNA Foundation, Caring, PVH, and Zalando. And this was carried out at Organic Cotton. So that was a field trial, basically, where different technologies have been applied at a farming level, at a ginning level, and then it has been checked what kind of traceability technology from only blockchain to different physical marking systems is reliable throughout the supply chain to the end product. I think that was really innovative, and it showed big differences between the different technologies. And this is the first time, from my knowledge, that somebody has had the guts to say, okay, what is available in the industry? Mm-hmm. What can we really do for with traceability? What is the advantages, the disadvantages of different technologies, to give an overview? And of course, from our perspective, it has helped that people recognize first time that there is something like traceability or available in fashion.
How your technology will disrupt or maybe enhance existing fashion ecosystem. Please share, Alex.
Yeah, I have a dream. And my dream is that organic cotton is becoming or is getting a fair price, which it has not today. Organic cotton is only costing maybe 10% more than conventional cotton. Why is that the case? My guess is that about 4 or 5 times more products are claimed and sold to be organic cotton than there is organic cotton grown at this globe. My dream is that there will be traceability integrated in organic cotton, and that at every product you can just check with a simple sensor at the store level if it is organic, yes or no, and that just a thumb in the air, organic cotton is at least 50% higher in price at the farming level, maybe 100 than it is today.
Could you be able to just give very, very simplified version to our viewers? What is the technology about?
Yeah. One sentence, maybe it's a long sentence. We provide an optical fingerprint which is integrated in the material, and it has 3 advantages. It is invisible, it is machine readable, and it's legal evident. And this combination is really unique. We start at the fiber level, so the fiber gets the marking. We can talk about the details, but the marking is integrated in the fiber, and then it goes to the spinning, it goes to weaving, knitting, and at every place we can check with the sensor if the material is still original and if it is 100%, or if it is mixed or blended with non-marked material, and goes really through the complete process to the ready garment or product. Even if it is a bed sheet or a shirt, no problem. With a simple sensor, within a second, you can check if that is the original material, yes or no. It is really simple. It is so simple.
Because if I would like to buy Hermes bag and I would like to make sure that that's a real product, how can I use this technology to be able to kind of like authentify my potential purchase?
So,
or maybe even owners of the systems, how can they use this technology to be able to make sure that it's a real product?
Yeah, the authentication needs a special sensor. We work with particles that react to light. So the principle is light in and light out, and this light out is checked with spectroscopy. Spectroscopy is the analysis of light. The advantage is that it is really fast. Nothing is faster than the speed of light, so it really takes place within a second. But the disadvantage is you need a special sensor. Even if it is not more expensive than a smartphone, it is still a special device which is not designed for the end user. At the max, it will be in a store, or it will be in a logistics center, or at customs that they check if that is original or if it is a fake. But we are working on a solution with labels. When the product gets a label, for example, with the QR code, then you can read that with your smartphone. And when we provide a database, and from our side we can do that. We are working with label manufacturers and with brands, of course, to connect this data from the product, which has the QR code, to data we provide before the QR code is basically connected with the product at the place where the lady sews the shirt or the bed sheet, so that we have in terms of data the bridge from the store where you check your product with a smartphone to the fiber, back to the fiber where we integrated all marking.
Or how do you keep that uniqueness of the ID?
Yeah, blockchain is a good keyword. Because it is very much discussed right now. From my perspective, blockchain is very important when it comes to data security. So if you store data and you want to make sure that this data cannot be manipulated anymore, and we all know it comes from currencies. It has been developed for Bitcoin, for an example, and everybody can understand that if you have a digital currency, You want to make sure that nobody can double the money or triple the money or just can cheat you. It's absolutely necessary to have a data safety storage technology in place. We see that a little bit different at the data of textile material. We are using Microsoft Azure as the cloud base, and yes, there is a blockchain module we can use to store the data on different servers. Mm-hmm. And yes, we can use blockchain to secure our data, our traceability data in the cloud. We don't do that because nobody has really the knowledge and the interest to go into traceability data and manipulate that. For that, you first would have to understand logically what data is stored where. This is our internal knowledge. And let me take it this way. Our engineers have a challenge enough to understand all this data. Yeah. How could somebody from external manipulate the data? It doesn't make sense at all. And yes, you can make the storage of certificates more safe with blockchain. But the problem we had at the beginning, if the certificates really tell you what material has been used, is a totally different question. So yes, you increase the security of the stored data of certificates with blockchain. Great. But if your material is something totally different than, for example, organic cotton, what is it good for? And this is where our technology comes into place. We have a physical marking which you cannot extract from the product anymore. You cannot exchange it anymore. If it's blended into the fiber, it's in the yarn, it's in the product, it's everywhere. You can document it at every place. You get true data and true documentation, and you cannot change that anymore.
Are you predominantly focusing on business to business, or you're looking into business to consumer as well, traceability potential?
Today, 100% is B2B, very clear. I think our customers will be other businesses. So for us, it will be a B2B business, but information will be provided to end users.
What was being your biggest failure, challenge, and what are the main learnings from that?
Honestly, the biggest failure has been to believe that it is good enough to have the best technology solution.
That's been your biggest failure.
And that is good enough, and people come and say, okay, we need this, we want this, and then you are just in sales. No, it is not, and this is how we met. I think that communication about it, marketing is really the key to first make it visible, to educate people to understand what traceability is, where the differences are, exactly what we are doing in this podcast, and this is why I'm really thankful for this opportunity to explain a little bit more details. This is exactly what I underestimated and where I put much more efforts into since about half a year than I did years before. To repeat the answer, it's not enough to have the best technology or solution. You need to talk about it, and to work with people on that is a very positive aspect. I like that very much.
So you're really focusing on the marketing aspect, understanding the customer, working closer, participating in podcasts. We will also add all your information down below in the comment section so people can just straight go to your LinkedIn profile, approach you directly, and learn from your journey. Thank you so much, Alex. We really, really appreciate you coming and talk with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your engagement, for the questions, for the time, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll be in touch. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Integrity, sorry.